Oh my God, wait. I've
Sorry, viewers can't hear me. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Hearthcenter, your Tuesday night show bringing you the highlights of the last week of THL. I am Lotus Knight. I am one of your hosts for tonight, and I am joined by the greatest panel THL has to offer, starting at our bottom left corner. We have the one and only Geranium Battle, our quiz show specialist. How are you, Geranium?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad I could just get to sort of roll out and just sort of talk today instead of host today. It's a good thing you've got the microphone here.
Yeah, it's a very different amount of work, but I like both positions. They're both fun. Next to Geranium Battle, we have the one and only Dr. Fish back this week. How are you, Fish?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be back, and yeah, we'll get to talk some THL.
For sure. Right above Fish, we have right of his fresh kettle purchase, Super Chicken. Chicken, how are you?
Uh, yeah, doing great. Can't wait to dive into the kind of nerfs that were teased at. Very excited about that.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get there. We have so much to talk today. But last but not least, we have a special guest tonight. Nice Jewish Owl is joining us tonight. How are you, Owl?
Hello, hello. What's up, nerds? Excited to be back on here and excited for the start of the collegiate Hearthstone season.
For sure. And what a great week to start the collegiate Hearthstone season with nerfs and literally everything going on.
With nerfs the same day as a match. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Exactly. We don't even know what they are yet. But we have so much to cover. This is going to be one of the most packed shows, probably the most packed show in the season. We are going to start with player of the week right in. And why don't we start talking about our hero player of the week? Fish, do you want to get this one?
Yeah, for sure. All right, this week, Hero Series Player of the Week is Laughing Frog. Laughing Frog. Let's see. I gotta find my own write up. Needing exactly a sweep to send her team to the playoffs over their yeah, yeah, sending their team to playoffs. It wasn't over their opponents. Hearthstone related content. Laughing Frog stepped up and did exactly that against a former Player of the Week winner in Rotted Zombie. Congratulations to Laughing Frog for always point maximizing for her team and for the fellow APM team, abducting players, minions, and sending them both to playoffs.
For sure. Congratulations, Laughing Frog. Um, I want to ask Uranium here. Do you want to tell us our legacy player of the week?
Of course, our legacy player of the week is none other than Smear. Overly enthusiastic THLer Smear McSmearson, Jack Black, gets thrown out of his old team and finds himself in desperate need of games. Posing as a 3 seed at an elite, private fish posting guild, he exposes his opponents to the warrior deck he idolizes and emulates, much to the consternation of the captain Two-Fly, played by Joan Cusack. As he finds out what it's like to play without his beloved greetings, he imagines redemption at a local sweep over MPV. As with all stories, this one ends with the school of fish about to make their rockin' comeback.
Nice. Nice.
Amazing
Congratulations.
write up.
Yeah, that was really good. Who did that one?
That's
Uh,
Geranium.
yeah,
Nice. Um, let's get our next player of the week. Chicken, do you want to tell us who's our Pro U player of the week?
Yeah, our Pro EU Player of the Week is my pro teammate Mighty. What does a GM have to do to win Player of the Week around here? How about sweep in a huge week for his team, helping them push ahead in the standings in the final week and make the playoffs? Because that's exactly what Mighty did, as the League of Nations took down ET Nazoth, 18-9 to move into third place. Go Mighty!
Go mighty indeed. And last but not least, Owl, do you want to tell us about our Pro player of the week?
Sure thing, yeah. Sometimes you need a big week to get into playoffs. And last week, the Raging Clues got that huge week. Every single player on the team took a 3-1 win to leapfrog their team to second in conference and make playoffs. And our player of the week, Jammies, led the charge all season, finishing at a 5-2 match score. And last week took out the OPG kick to give him his only loss in the pro season. Good luck in playoffs, Raging Clues. And that write-up comes from Based Ink.
Nice. I want to congratulate Laughing Frog, Smear, Mighty, and Jammies for winning Player of the Week. I don't actually know this, so since we have some members of Player of the Week, I can ask: are we gonna have Player of the Week next week?
Um, probably for all the probably for all the playoffs besides maybe EU Pro, and then Legacy as well because Legacy has their last week. I would guess that after next week we'll stop doing some of the Player of the Weeks. But that is still up to Doc's discretion as well.
Sounds good. So you heard here first. There probably is going to be one next week. So to keep us moving here, let's hop into decks of the week because we have our specialist in control decks, Nice Jewish Owl here, to tell us about this first deck. We're going to talk about Secret Mage. Owl, tell us how this made it in.
Sure thing. Yeah, this is the deck that I know saw some experimentation with the new cards that were released. Both saw experimentation when the set was released, and a bit of experimentation with the mini set, with the new secret being printed. But yeah, this is sort of taking that previous Ping Mage outline and putting in some secrets instead. So leaning on the wildfire package to win. It's using the what is it? Contract Conjure and Anonymous Informant to get early tempo and disruption out of these secrets. And Orion, the Mansion Manager, can provide a alternative win con against decks that can't interact with it, or sometimes you just get unlucky and they keep rolling counterspell into objection and you never remove them. It seems like a legit deck.
For sure. Anything anyone wants to add about this deck?
Yeah, I think it's not the most real deck ever. Like it doesn't really have like tons of board presence. But it does kind of get there. And yeah, I think Orion Cheese is kind of the main way the deck wins. It does have like the kind of ping mage shell, but I have played against it like a decent bit on ladder, and every time it felt like the only way my opponent would win was through like some sort of Orion scam. The rest of the stuff seems a little underwhelming. I think I would like to see a bit more secret mage support next expansion to maybe bring this deck into like true relevancy, but it does kind of work right now as a kind of a fringe counter deck.
And I'm sure those wild players will love to see Secret Mage support get printed.
So true. So
Yeah,
true.
yeah. I'm like sitting here. I'm just like, God, please don't make it good enough to have secret agents and wild be everywhere.
That's true. Let's take a look at the next deck. Chicken. We have a special one here. It's a budget deck.
Yes. We have Mine Rogue here. And yeah, there are no legendaries in this deck. There are a couple epics, or that you have to craft, the Forsaken Lieutenant and the Counterfeit Blade. But yeah, other than that, pretty low dust cost, which is pretty uncommon these days in Hearthstone. So yeah, if you're looking for a deck that is somewhat meta relevant, it's fallen a bit out of the meta since the last balance patch. I think um decks, especially like Boon Priest and probably Hunter as well, give this deck a lot of problems.
Yes.
Just like Boon, especially, yeah, I think Boon Priest especially just generating a huge board, and there's just basically nothing this deck can do. Boon Priest also runs like minimum two like silences, and then sometimes runs up to 2 focused wills as well. So just having like death rattles and stuff sit on the board is a pretty terrible idea. But yeah, it does work a lot of the time against certain decks. I think I think especially this could work against a lot of like 30 health slower decks. Something like Relic or Feldh. This would probably do pretty well against. Um, I'm just trying to look at the scouting right now. Did he actually? Oh, I don't know why I'm on exclude right now, but yeah, I don't know what this actually beat to get through, but let me see here. It looks like the Mine Rogue ended up beating the Miracle Rogue from Maxibon. So yeah, it looks like it, which is I assume Lambie Rogue.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it's Lampy Rook.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another 30 health deck that gets on board a little bit slower, or it gets online sometimes a little bit slower than the Mine Rogue. So a lot of the
Yeah,
times you can go under decks,
gotcha.
like that.
Mhm.
Maxibon also had the Pure Paladin in his lineup, which I assumed the Mine Rogue would have been very good against as well.
Mhm.
Only he also didn't run the Elitist Snob, so there really was like no healing in the deck there. So I
Mhm.
think the Mine slash Death Rattle Rogue would have performed very well there as well.
It,
Yeah, no
it did
board
lose
clears
to
as
that.
well. What?
The Mine Rogue lost to Pure Paladin.
How does that? Okay, how does anything lose to Pure Paladin? By the way,
This is coming from
if you're
Super
losing to Pure
Jacob.
Paladin, you gotta pack it up.
Well,
Um, Not that I won my match this week in pro, but my opponent did not bring Pure Paladin.
We'll
But
get
anyway,
there.
yeah, I do think Mine Rogue definitely has some good matchups, and definitely is at least worth trying for the amount of dust it costs if you're on a budget.
Yeah.
so looking at stats earlier on in the meta, Mine Rogue did have like one good matchup, and that one good matchup was Miracle Rogue. So makes
Yeah,
sense to see it win here. This is maybe just like a targeted anti-Miracle Rogue-ish lineup. Um, I mean, not the entire lineup here is anti-Miracle Rogue, but uh, Mine Rogue doesn't really have a home in many other matchups, and yeah, I mean, it depends on how it draws against the Pure Paladin. If the Pure Paladin's able to sort of get its long control game plan online before the Mine Rogue is able to pop off, if it doesn't get a big high roll like it needs to, um, kind of lights out feeling. Because, yeah, 5/8 taunts are not going to do anything when you suck them up, make them 1 health, all that.
True. Anything else anyone wants to talk about Mind Rogue before we hop into talk about Charge Warrior? All right, so we have the one person here, the only person I would even say, that knows how to talk about Charge Warrior. Geranium, tell us about this one.
Yes, of course. I know a lot about Charge Warrior, having never brought Warrior this season, probably never bringing Warrior this season. But hence I've been given all the warriors to talk about, and here I'm going to talk about Nice Jewish Owls, Charge Warrior from this week. In this case, he brought a slightly modified version of the old Charge Warrior. I mean, Sanguine Death's added to the deck, of course, um, but looks pretty old school with the From the Depths in here. But the new card here is Weapons Expert. Weapons Expert gives you a little bit more tutoring to find your Outrider's Axe, which is your consistent draw to get through the combo. We did actually see I'll, I think, do Charge Warrior earlier on in the season on a stream before Weapons Expert had been printed. Oh no, sorry, he bullied Charge Warrior. Yes, that's what's supposed to happen. Well, in this case, Charge Warrior did end up making it through instead, and maybe Naishushao has a little bit more to say what he why he brought it.
I thought the deck was funny, and I like Warrior. That was basically my thought process in bringing it.
Easy.
Makes sense.
I said, new patch, I'm going to bring combo. And then I couldn't find a good fourth combo deck, so I said, Charge Warrior.
If I can't bring a good combo deck, I will bring a bad combo deck.
A bad Warrior combo deck.
I mean, there has been some good results for Charge Warrior recently, so you can maybe find a slightly different list, and maybe that'll find you some success, or maybe once again you'll get bullied on the playground by people overdrawing you with curses and such.
Or stealing your charge minions with Theatar and then hitting you with them, which is, I believe,
True.
what happened in my match.
Anyone wants to share any final thoughts about this deck or decks of the week before we hop into Hero? All right. So with that, we're gonna hop right into Hero Series, and there's a lot to talk about tonight, so I'm going to keep it going. So, starting us out, our first game of the night is another Pit of Misery, 8 p.m., facing Hearthstone related content. Geranium, tell us how this match went.
Ah, yes. APM versus HRC in Hero. Before I start talking about the match, I will say that only one of these teams made it into playoffs. In the 1 seed, Ron, Mexico's 6-1 game record, kept up with the 3-1 over Always Just in Time. Lotus took me to town in a 3-1 thrashing. Donde kept it up in the 3 with a 3-1 over Wild 9. And that was all to start the week. And then APM brought it back, making it at least a lot closer, with Jolt C taking a 3-1 and Laughing Frog taking the sweep.
As always, I want to call to commentate here. Fish, anything you want to add about this one?
I think with Geranium's first comment being that only one team made playoffs, which is APM, it goes to show the strength of the conference that Hearthstone related content played in and how close it was. That team that was 3 points off of the teams who got the most points in that conference, that one didn't make the playoffs. Overall, like, it's great to see the top 3 players having excellent seasons. Ron, Lotus, and Donde, all 3 of them are, consistently fantastic Hero Series players. I think this was Rodded's first season in Hero, and he did pretty well going 3-3. But yeah, I mean, obviously Frog got Player of the Week for getting getting another Pit of Misery into playoffs. Yeah, I mean, the win is bitter. Like, obviously a win for Hearthstone related content, but it's really not because they didn't make playoffs, which is a very odd scenario to see happen.
This was a very odd match in so many ways.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to add anything else about this before we go into our next match?
Justin brought Paladin and lost. Curious.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And Priest have to bring the Paladin as well.
Is that a little foreshadowing for the next match?
Shut up, shut up, shut up. No trade secrets.
So, Owl, tell us about our next match.
Yeah. This was Chicken is back just in time to smack versus F2L Obsidian. And Chicken certainly did a bit of smacking along with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
With Super Chicken taking a 3-1 over Based Inc. C-Mac taking a 3-2 over some scrub that F2L has in the 2 seed. Nine Eyebrows took a 3-1 over Dr. Bomb D. Two Fly was able to pick up 4 points for FTL Obsidian, taking a 3-1 over
Yeah.
Skirt Reynolds. And then You Kitten Me took a 3 over Sharkbait in the 5.
Hmm.
And one of these players bought Paladin, and they also happened to lose. Crazy.
Did the Paladin win?
The Paladin won a game.
There we go. Okay. So it was some other deck. Because with 2 points, like it's very likely that Paladin could have just got a win. Especially because
Wonder.
you didn't ban Priest.
Yeah.
So
That was indeed
but
the
yeah.
deck the Paladin beat, although it was
Mhm.
Quest Priest. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Any Steam
That's a
queens?
tough beat for Priest, for Quest Priest. But yeah. Yeah, team didn't have the best season um of all time, but I enjoyed captaining them. And shout outs to Fly for turning. He was 0-4 to start the season and then racked off 3 straight wins to end the season once the meta changed. So big ups to Two Fly and the rest of the squad for hanging it in there every week.
Sure.
Mhm.
Anyone else wants to add anything about Chicken is back just in time to smack versus F12 Obsidian? Maybe Chicken himself.
Yeah, I'll add something.
You had a fun
We
match,
we
right?
are back. We're back for playoffs, and we will smack. Uh, Not too much else to say other than that. I think we had a bit of a down week last week, so it was nice to be back with a strong week going into playoffs. Needed a okay performance, I think, to make playoffs. We only needed like a
Yeah.
few points, but
Mhm.
it was possible to choke it completely. Luckily, we did not do that, and
Mhm.
somewhat clutched it out. But yeah, feels good to be in playoffs, and yeah, excited for our next week.
Sure, for sure. As we move into talking about playoffs, we should first look at the standings. Fish, this was a crazy week. Tell me,
It
how
was.
did the standings end up?
The standings ended up with E.T. Yashiraz taking the bye week out of Teal Conference, Clowntown taking the bye week out of Purple Conference. I know Team Edward is above them in the standings, and that's probably because of AOS, I would guess. Uh, so Team Edward, Chicken it has 109 tied with E.T. Yashiraz, which I would imagine comes down to the head to head at that point. Hearthstone related content in APM at 106 each, APM taking the head to head. And then F12 Black and F12 Obsidian sitting outside of playoffs at 100 for F12 Black, barely missing out, and Obsidian falling quite short at 80 points. Over in the Purple Conference, like I said, Clown Town 121 points. Excellent season. Um, Getting the 1 seed out of Purple. Chicken is back, getting 107 points. APM of Another Pit of Misery squeaking by 1 point ahead of the Colt with 92, 91 for the Colt. No pros here, 87 points. Dad Legend, 82 points. So that is the final regular season standings for Hero Series.
What a crazy season! And
I know.
what are the playoff bracket looking like? Chicken, tell me what you're seeing here.
1 second while the scene transitions. Okay. Yeah, so on the purple side, we have ET Yasharaj with the bye, and then we have Team Edward versus APM. Am I reading this correctly? I'm just like looking at the side that is purple and calling that the purple side.
They're not
Um,
separated by teams. That's just graphical design.
Okay. And on the other side, we have Clown Town with the bye, and Chicken is back just in time to smack versus Abducting Players Minions. So yeah, some pretty good matches this week, and there will surely be more good matches next week.
For sure. Now, this is the point where we are actually speculating a bit. So I want to ask everyone out of this six teams we see here, who wins? And I'm going to start with Nice Jewish Owl, giving you the hot seat here. Who wins? No reasoning
Who
required.
wins? Who wins? APM. That's my prediction for who wins.
You think it's
Sure.
going to be APM versus
I think it's
APM in finals?
Yeah, I think it's APM versus APM in finals, and APM wins.
Fair. I want to ask Geranium here. Who wins?
This is so sad. The Nine Eyebrows CMAC team is going to beat APM twice and win again.
Very well.
Twice in one final. Sorry, twice in one playoffs.
Fair. Sad but fair. Chicken. Who wins?
Um, yeah, well, can't bet against my own team, surely. I think we will win this week. And then also on the other side, I think another Pit of Misery will win their match. Are we supposed to speculate beyond that, or is it just this week?
No, it's beyond that. So who is the final winner?
Oh, surely we win Hero Series again, right? Surely. Yeah. I'll predict my own team. And then it'll blow up in my face when we when we lose in round one. Um, but yeah, I think we'll win Hero Series against another Pit of Misery.
Very well. So for the next one, I want to ask Fish. Last one actually. Who wins?
Um, I'll go with the favorites, with the team that performed the best in the regular season. I'm a big fan of a lot of their players in Clown Town. Um, especially with the season that Rice Cryption and Hat and so on have had. Um, it's one of those seasons I need to just check. I need to check if Neji's had a good season or not. That'll determine. But anyways, yeah, I think Clown Town will do well. Yeah, I did do okay. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll close out the season strong. Especially with Molstar as their 2 seed.
Very well. I'll take that, and I will say to everyone here, prove us wrong. Win. That's all we want to see. So if you
Yeah.
don't believe us, go prove us wrong. Win your matches, and if not, just don't DQ. We hate DQs. That's all that matters. Now, why don't we take a look at Hero PPR? Our Hero PPR reader for tonight, I believe, is Super Chicken. Chicken, take it away.
Yeah, so with Hero PPR, we'll start off with the honorable mentions as always. So in our honorable mentions, we have Donde at 5-2. We have Thalfex at 4-3. Prescription at 4-3. Wyfair at 5-2, and Vino Spumoni at 5-2. Then in our top 10, we have Aquaman at 4-1, Risen at 5-2, Vampire Nighthawk at 4-3, Molstar at 3-0. Then we have a bunch of 6-1 players in interesting game score order. We have the best win loss of 2-star Mako at 6-1 in sixth place. Then we have T-Mac with a 19-8 game score. We have Nomad Farmer with a 20-8 game score. Then Ridiculous Hat with a 20-11 game score. Ron Mexico with a 20-8 game score. And then at the top, we have Bone Masher with a 20-10 game score.
Nice. I want to congratulate everyone who made PPR. This is the final PPR since we don't actually add your results from finals because not all players make it. So congratulations to Bone Matcher, Ron Mexico, Ridiculous Hat, Nomad Farmers, C-Mac, 2-Star Mako, Molestar, Vampire Nighthawk, Risen, Aquaman 575, Dino Spumoni, Wyfair, Ricescription, Thalfix, and last but not least, Donde. And with that, everyone ready to move to Legacy?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to see. Let me just pull up our match really quick to make sure I have the right one because it's not showing the right one right now. 1 second. And all right. So we are going to start by looking at Legacy Conference. And to tell us about the Gold Conference as a whole, we have Dr. Fish. Fish, tell me what happened in How I Met Your Murgle facing School of Fish.
Yeah, this was a pretty close match in the end, despite the score. So the week started very quickly with Yo Daddy taking a 3-1 over Vino and Two Fly getting a 3-1 over Corden. And then coming back for How I Met Your Murgle, myself, I took a 3-1 over Laughing Frog. And then Owl took a 3-2 over Zancat. So it all came down to the final match, MPV versus Smear, and Smear able to get the sweep and getting Player of the Week in the process. So yeah, congrats to School of Fish, and that makes Gold Conference a lot closer with our team losing this week. And I guess I'll move. I guess we'll leave room for comments about the match from other players. Yeah, or are there other guests, I should say.
For sure. Let's start with Owl since he's the other one with the stake here. Anything you want to add about How I Met Your Murgle versus School of Fish?
One player in this match brought Warrior, and
They
it
won.
was also the undefeated deck in that series, if I'm remembering correctly. So maybe some more people should be bringing Warrior. All I gotta say.
That's fair. I'm going to ask Uranium as a Warrior specialist for comments here.
Yes. I mean, Warrior in closed list is definitely better than Warrior in open list. Um, just because, uh, well, so in closed list, your opponent can see you brought Warrior and can try to play around it, except for they're playing around quite a wide array. I mean, Quest Warrior is still a deck, not real, but still a deck. And Rage Warrior is kind of a deck, and then Charge Warrior is the extreme opposite side of the spectrum, alongside No Wincon Warrior, which can maybe bully some of the slower sort of valuing decks. So Warrior has some stay in the meta, and you can try and explore that yourself if you're playing against my team, please.
Very well. Anyone wants to share any final opinions about this match before we look at the Gold Conference standings? All right. So, Fish, tell us about the gold standings.
All right, gold standings. This is actually a super close conference. We have How I Met Your Murgle in first place at 114 points. Close colon parentheses, Smile sitting at 107 points. All Plays Magnified at 100 points. The Stubbs at 99 points. And then sitting at the bottom of our conference is not Justin at 64 points. Realistically, there could be a case that any combination of like a decent combination of the four teams up top end up in playoffs. Um, so it is going to be super interesting to see how it plays out.
For sure. I feel like anyone that isn't not Justin does have a good chance to make it.
For sure. For sure.
Now, just a reminder, there's only one more week of Legacy, so go crazy if you want to make it. And let's hop on to the Red Conference, where today we have talking about the Red Conference Owl. Tell us about the pod people facing the Stubs.
Sure thing. Yeah, so both of these are teams that are in that playoff contention. We just saw the Stubs 1 point behind APM and Gold. And we'll get to where pod people sit. But so this was a week that was super important for both of these teams. And the Stubbs took a narrow win over pod people 16-12. In the 1 seed, Ridiculous Hat did take a 3-2 over Epic Mingo. Starlax 1-3 against Kronos. And then Wicked Good also 1-3 against Lemur. Dragon Rider got some more points for the pod people with a 3-2 over Osmonaut. And then Tamrin 2-3 in the 5 seed. But as we know, if any of these matches had gone the other way, I think pod people would have been able to either tie or win this week. So super close match and important week for both teams. And this coming week's important for them both as well.
For sure. Before you tell us about the upcoming week, though, I want to ask Chicken here. Anything you want to add about pod people facing the Stubs?
Yeah, definitely some pretty serious playoff implications for pod people at least. Yeah, falling or they're still second in their conference. They didn't really have a real chance of finishing first in their conference, but yeah, now the playoff race in red is as close as it's ever been. Really, I mean, 4 points between the second and fourth place teams is just it's absurdly close. I really do not envy any of these three teams going into the final week. Yeah, also very funny that they're all 3 and 4. It's just been very, very similar seasons for all three of these teams, but they're all still in it, so they do all still have a chance. But yeah, I'm not. Who's normally the 5 seed on pod people?
Sway Bay.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, hopefully pod people have Sway Bay back this week.
I don't
You
think they
don't.
do.
Well,
No.
or maybe they find it. Hopefully they find a good sub then to carry them to victory. But yeah, they definitely need a better than a 12-point performance most likely. So definitely
Yeah,
need to turn things around this coming week and yeah, get themselves into playoffs.
for sure.
For sure. Now,
Yeah.
I want to go into the standings here. Owl, what are the standings for Red looking like in the end?
Yeah, so far and away in first place, uncatchable by the rest of the conference with 1 week left, is the Diamond 5 at 135 points and a 6-1 record, and the only team with a winning record in the conference. Next up are Pod People with 101 points at 3-4, and followed closely behind at F2L White 98 and School of Fish 97. And then in last place is Dad Legend with only 81 points.
Yeah, before moving on to any other conferences, I just want to sort of talk about the last week here because the conference we just talked about, Gold, is facing Red Conference again in this
Yeah.
final week.
Yep.
And it's actually looking like pretty competitive for every single team. The top team in Gold is facing the top team in Red. second team is facing second team. There's a little bit of switch up with the third team facing the fourth team. But like with how close F2L White and School of Fish are, that's basically the same thing. And then the two bottom teams are facing. So,
No, it's
it's
exact mirrored. It's APM versus White, subs versus
oops.
School. So it is 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4. So yeah,
Okay.
like I think this week is super interesting because our team faces the Diamond 5. That's
Yeah. So
that's like
um
that's the interesting part.
and then in Gold Conference there's 8 points separating
Yeah.
the fourth place team from making it into playoffs. In Red Conference it's only 4 points. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be super competitive last week. Everyone's gonna be super hungry for it. So
Yeah.
Very well. And with that, I think that is a good point to end talking about red and move on to talk about silver. So, in terms of silver conference, why don't why doesn't Chicken tell us about our silver match of the week?
Yeah, in Silver Conference, we had the Season 22 closed list conquest participants. Doesn't even fit on the screen versus Dumbledore's army, who I think had the lowest amount of points in the league or in the series going into this week. And they definitely made it very close. I know Gamer Dude lost his match 3-2 first on Friday to Plants, giving Plants his first win of the season. So very charitable of Gamer Dude there. Then I believe Izat played his match on Saturday and won. And I also played my match on Saturday and won. So at that point we were up a few points. And then I believe Kitten lost his match Saturday evening. So then it came down to Tab to win his match in order for us to win the week. And yeah, he got there with a pretty quick 3-1.
Nice. That's awesome. I always like detailed match analysis. Um, Geranium, anything you want to talk about this one?
um yeah, I mean we saw a lot of the same stuff being brought. Except for by Plants. Plants only brought Priest of sort of the maybe most common three. No Hunter, no Warlock, and Stinzy did not bring Priest or Warlock either. So, closed S22's closest conquest participant brought Hunter, Priest, Warlock in many of their lineups, but then Dumbledore's army mixing it up and actually finding at least some results there with Plants and with Bartimus. So interesting thoughts in Legacy to sort of switch up lineup prep.
For sure. Now, I'll keep the show moving since we do want to finish on time tonight. Chicken, what are the standings for silver looking like in the end?
Yeah, sorry. Another 3-team race in Silver Conference. The middle of the pack teams all fighting for that last playoff spot. I believe my team has clinched now, being
Yes.
23 points ahead of XD, and being more than that ahead of IDK. So yeah, we're at the top with 127, and then XD is at 104, IDK at 98, STD at 93, and the Slaw Buddies at 84. So yeah, aside from the Slaw Buddies, it's still a very competitive conference. Not obviously not as close as Red Conference, which we just saw, which had that 4 point gap, but all the teams are within 11 points. So STD would definitely need a pretty fortunate week for their opponents, or unfortunate for their opponents, but fortunate for them in terms of their results.
Mhm.
But yeah, IDK and XD can probably just um, clinch clinch a playoff spot with just a very strong performance and um, a slight underperformance from their other conference teams.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is still very, very close going into the last week.
Yeah, this is gonna be quite the race in so many different conferences. And speaking of a conference that doesn't actually have the same pattern, I would say this is the most different one. Take a look at blue here. Geranium, tell us about the blue conference.
Of course. So starting off about the Blue Conference, I'll talk about the match that we're highlighting here. It's going to be 4 out of 5 Justins versus Illidan's Death Knights. Illidan's Death Knights, a team that I don't think anyone expected to see at a negative week win rate, 3-4. But here they find another close loss. Always just in time, taking the sweep over JR Juggerlaw, who's in the one over Molestar, who won 3-1 against Wild Rose. Pokemon 661 found the 3-1 over Fudov, who has lost yet again. Skirt Reynolds got swept by Nomad Farmer, and finally Tickers, the only non-Justin here, took the 3-1 over Righteous Jammies to clinch the week.
That's quite the week for the 4 out of 5 Justins. Fish, anything you want to comment about this match?
Um, it's a pretty close match, and Justin's like, which was a few more points, and like we see in the standings, Justin's would be perhaps even in the lead, but still getting 13-10 over a very strong team. Um, I say down the line, this was pretty pretty much like, I don't think any matches went in a way that I wasn't expecting. Perhaps maybe Nomad Farmer sweeping Skirt Reynolds. That's something I probably would not have expected, but would be possible. Yeah, overall, like super, like competitive match, and both teams fighting for playoffs this week as well. So they'll have to keep up the work.
Yeah, this might have been the most important or like the most impactful match
Yeah,
last week in terms of playoff
yeah,
implications.
yeah.
The Justins kind of putting themselves a little bit ahead of the Zilfs,
Mhm.
I think. And then yeah, IDK having a 10-point week really sets them back in terms of playoff contention now. XD pulls a
Mhm.
little bit ahead of them, and really it does give them a bit of an uphill battle trying to qualify in the last week.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 Justins did win, but it was a small win, a very necessary win, because Hot Zilfs and ET Cthulhu really won out last week. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch on over to the Blue Conference standings to talk about exactly that, because 4 out of 5 Justins has been surpassed by ET Cthulhu. Their very big week brought them to 121, a worse team record than 4 out of 5 Justins, but just ahead of them. 4 out of 5 Justins behind them at 119, and then Hot Zilfs behind both of them with 111. All three of them very similar records. Unfortunately, the Cooler and Dumbledore's army are sort of lagging behind the pack here, unable to make playoffs at all. And that's sort of where we get into what matches are going to be happening this week, because E.T. Cthulhu is facing the bottom team in silver, which is still no slouch because it's the Slaw Bunnies.
Mhm.
4 out of 5 Justins is facing the top team in silver. That's Season 22 Closeless Conquest Participan. And then Hot Zilfs is facing, I'm sorry, I believe it was, I think they're the ones facing Zarella's Disciples. So that means that the Team Zarella's Disciples that is trying to hold on to their second place spot is getting fought by probably the hungriest team in Hot Zilfs.
Mhm.
Um, And then Ilton's Death Knights and Standard THL Degenerates are facing the two bottom teams in blue, so they really have a chance to catch up. So Silver Conference looking very competitive, despite the fact that there was that 11-point gap. And then in Blue Conference, it's really like 4 to 5 Justin's ET Cthulhu trying to hold on for dear life while the
Yeah.
Hot Zilfs try to rock it up.
Any final thoughts anyone wants to share about blue before we hop into PPR? Actually, I have a question for everyone, which is this seems like a more stable season. A lot of two second place teams just fighting for the positions, but I feel like this is a more stable legacy season than we've seen before. Is that right? What do y'all think? I'll ask Geranium since he was the one on the mic here.
So I think there was a lot of instability near the start of the season before we really shook things out, but then it kind of feels like about even ever since we sort of got to the ever since we got to the halfway point and started looking at cross conference matches, there really hasn't been much change in where teams are positioned. Hot Zilfs has gotten more close to the rest of the pack, but you know, the two top teams in blue stayed at the top. Looking at the other conferences, I mean, like Gold was close going into it, still close. Red Conference was, you know, Diamond 5 at the top, then sort of teams mixed up in the middle, still is. Like, there really hasn't been much change. So I'm not so sure, if cross conference is super necessary. It's fun to play more matches, but doesn't change things.
Very well. Anyone wants to share any other thoughts on this question? I'll open for everyone.
Yeah, I'd say it looks similar to how the last like regular season went last season.
Yeah.
I think to see how stable it really is, we'll have to see what happens in playoffs. Because as you remember, Lotus, all of the top teams in Legacy last season choked in round one of playoffs and got eliminated.
I
So
certainly remember.
we'll have to wait and see if that happens again. I don't know. It looks like it might happen again. Like the season has the standings look so similar to last
Yeah.
season. I could easily see it happening again,
Mhm.
which would be very funny.
Yeah, I think the parity the parity isn't as strong as last season. Like the top teams were by far seemed by far better than the other teams, and it was kind of very surprising. I think like the closeness of the standings is gonna create a pretty wild playoff situation. Like there's season 22 closeless conquest participants. We have Chicken's team and then we have Diamond's team, Diamond 5. Like they are kind of the two standouts, but then after that it's everyone's kind of a big like jumble of teams and they're all strong. And so kind of whoever comes out of, I don't think seeding is gonna matter that much. Because you're gonna face a strong team regardless, but even more so this season, you're gonna face like a team that's probably the same level of you as you.
Sounds good. With that, I want to move us into Legacy Series PPR, which is the second to last of the season. I'm sorry if anyone had anything else to say about this question, but I do want to keep this. So, to read off Legacy PPR, we have, I believe it is Nice Jewish Owl. Owl, take it away.
That's me. So, if I'm reading this right, our honorable mentions start with Cheesy 10 at 5-2 with a 16-9 game score. Then Astral Frog 5-2, 18-11. Molestar, who might be number 3 in the honorable mentions, but he's number 1 in my heart. 5-2 record, 18-13 game score. Wild 9 at 4-2 with a 16-8 game score, and Laughing Frog at 5-2 with an 18-15 game score. And then entering the list proper, Dragon Rider coming in at 10th place, 4-1 with a 14-10 game score. Chewy, 6-1, 18-10 game score. And then, of course, Dankest Dad, 5-1 record, 16-8 game score. G Kick at 4-0, impressive, with 12-6 game score. Oh man, Super Chicken at 6-1 with an 18-10 game score. Rice Cryption, 6-1 as well, 19-6 game score. And then we have Treedo 2, 6-1 with a 19-11 game score. Man, Treedo, love to see it. Kodamora, 6-1 record as well, 20-9 game score. Tab, 6-1 with a 20-7 game score. And then the only player with a 6-0 record, Just Concede, coming in at first place with an 18-7 game score. This one mostly makes sense. It doesn't seem that rigged, I gotta say.
Yeah, anything anyone wants to add? This isn't final. There's still one more week for this to change, but anything anyone wants to comment here?
Yes, I would like to say something. You know what? Had I not lost to Just Concede, I would also have an 18-7 game score.
Did you just concede though?
Um, no, but I did lose, and I do think I played worse than him.
Wow, Super Chicken, have you considered the fact that you are below Treedo 2 on this ranking?
Yeah, Trito's been having an excellent season and definitely been carrying ET Yogg, or which one is the legacy one? Cthulhu? I don't remember. But yeah. Yeah, team has been doing very, very well. I think they like if I remember correctly last season, they really started picking things up near the end of the season and made a little bit of a playoff run. So I guess they were just kind of picking up where they left off last season, and yeah, Trito really hasn't stopped.
Right. So I will keep us moving so we end the show at some point tonight. Back to the main screen though, where we are going to have our commercial break. What everyone is here for. We all are ready for it. It's easier to read than it's ever been. I'll take it away.
Yo, 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 yo. Hey there, Twitcheroos. Have you subscribed to Team Hearth League yet? Then make today the day to be a league yourself and subscribe to our channel. This subscription enables the THL team to help cope the various costs of cope rating our website, as well as improve the I can't even read this word. iCarly of our screams and content to your whoers. If you have Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime, you could submarine to the channel for free. Subscribers will forget a THL SmojCon as well as the Big Lee THL chat at Badjajija. So hit that frown button and keep the notifications bing bong to make sure you catch our team Bat Chesping live. We approximate each and every one of you. Special smoj to our viewers. Check out THL's other social media interest of points. Website, teamhearthleague.com. Catch us on Twitter at THLHS. Join us on Discord, Team Hearth League, and updude us on Tumblr, Kachow Kerchoo Krakow. The Truth Hearth Leagues himself, Saku and Dameless Dad, continuing to roast all of our videos on our YouTube channel. Just search for Teen Heart Leafs to see everything previously recorded. You are, of course, watching us on our Twitch channel, Factos, twitch.tv/Team Hearth or possibly on our YouTube channel in the future. And for all your THL fanfics out where, there are THL smoges every single moist days of the week. You can't go bong runestoning in at any time for some Runeterra related content. Now back to the good part. Ka-chow.
How indeed. Congratulations, Owl, on your great read of our commercial.
Excellent.
I'm sure everyone understood perfectly what we're talking about, and there's no need for any clarifications. But shall we move on to our next segment? Our special recap of EU Pro playoffs.
Do it.
Yeah, let's jump in.
So, Geranium, tell us what 4 teams made EU Pro playoffs.
Oh, okay. I know this. And I don't have to look it up because the 4 teams that made EU Pro playoffs, we actually see one of the 2 finalists from last time. Top 4 being Pan and Cooks at 117, F12 Violet now at 117 after one result. League of Nations narrowly squeaked in over ET Nazoth, who also made it, and then Pertinax was the finalist from last year that did not make it. So now we're going to see some of these other teams and whether they can hold on. Pan and Cooks making another drive.
For sure, for sure. Now, I want to ask everyone here, and I'll start with Geranium. Which teams make, or which team actually wins Pro U? Tell us a little bit of your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, League of Nations is here, but they've already won it once before, and I think the other teams are a bit hungrier for it. But F2L and ET are a little bit split over different conferences, so I actually think it's the concentrated Pan and Cooks, the pure Pan and Cook energy that brings them to the finals and win.
All right, Owl, who do you think makes Pro U winners?
F2L.
Fair, Rebob is just celebrating right there. Chicken, who makes Pro U winners?
I think it will be the Pan and Cooks versus League of Nations in the finals, and I think the Pan and Cooks will actually take it. League of Nations has been doing fairly well this season, but definitely not as strongly as they did last season. I think the Pan and Cooks have just been a bit more consistent, and yeah, I think they'll take home the second EU Pro Series.
And last but not least, Fish, who wins EU Pro?
I'm gonna agree with Owl. I think F12 Violet takes it this season. They'll still have a close match with League of Nations. But with the result already, it does always feel difficult when you see a sweep result already happening. For that team to have an easier road to closing out the week early. And then on the other side, I'll favor Pan and Cooks. So Violet versus Pan and Cooks with F12 Violet taking the finals.
Nice. F2L taking the finals. That would be. Has F2L ever won EU?
No, they didn't. No, wait, no, sorry. One of the F12 teams won EU Wild.
Oh yeah, there was EU Wild. I forgot about that.
Yep, they did win. So I think it was I think Celadon, because Celadon used to be an EU team, and then now they're an NA team, but they won the season of the only season of EU Wild we had.
Wild players. ROFL.
So true. ROFL bread emote and die emote.
All right. So I wasn't filibustering at all as I move us into player power rankings for Pro U. Fish, tell me, Who is our top 15 Pro U players?
All right, yeah, for sure. So to start us off for our top, for our honorable mentions, we start with Bouncy Knight at 4-3 with a 14-17 game record. That's super interesting. That's a very very interesting like game score to have for a positive record. Next up is Itachi at a 2-3 record with a 12-10 game score. We have Martinino with 3-2 at 11-6. Mott at 4-3 with a 16-13 game score. Then closing out is Judgment, just missing top 10 with a 2-1 record. So only 3 weeks played, but an 8-3 record in that time span. So very, very well done. That looks like two sweeps and a 2-3 loss. So that's excellent. So for the top 10, we start with Pigeon at 5-2 with a 15-12 game score. Why the Hunter next up at 4-3, 17-14. Designo at 5-2 with an 18-12 game score. Then Blanky at 5-2, 18-14 for 7th place. Next up in 6th place is Vuska at 5-2 record with 19-13 game score. And then to start our top 5, we have Rami at 5-2, 19-10. 4th place, we have Den at 5-2 with the 19-12 game scores. Also, all very close for these players from in the top 10. Then Max VDP, one of our featured deck bringers, with a 6-1 record and 20-9. Followed pretty much super same everything is Donkey at 6-1 and 20-9. Our number one EU PPR player is Chewy at 6-1 with a 20-13 game win rate, or game record, I should say. Congrats to all the players who made the list.
For sure. I want to congratulate all the players who closed EU PPR: Chewy, Donkey, Max, VDP, Den, Rami, Vusk, Blanke, Dinsinho, Why the Hunter, and Pigeon. Congratulations on making EU PPR, and congratulations to our honorable mentions as well. And congratulations to Righteous Jammies for subscribing with Twitch Prime.
Let's go.
Now, everyone ready to move to Pro Series?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Indeed.
As always, Pro is our final series of the night, so let's hop into our first Pro match. And the person who's going to tell us what happened is Fish when we're looking at the Coney Island Clown Club facing the Cheesemongers United.
All right. The one thing we here at Hearthcenter love to do is talk about ties. That is exactly what happened in this match. Coney Island Clown Club and Cheesemongers United tying at 13 points. Starting up in the 1-2, we have Wild 9 taking a 3-1 win over Neji Boston. We have Pyro Llama taking a 3-2 over Izot. Ego Waffle coming in as a sub, taking a 3-1 win over Not Bamity. Lambie Series taking a 3-0 win over Random Dude. And Memnar getting a 3-2 win over Always Just in Time. So the sweep really mattering to help keep Coney Island Clown Club right there for the tie.
This was just a really, really interesting result. We don't see ties that often. Chicken, anything you want to talk about the tie here?
Yeah, the tie wasn't super relevant for Coney Island Clown Club, but I think that it was pretty relevant for
Cheesemonger.
CMU.
Mhm.
Actually, oh wait, I'm seeing in the notes that our standings are a little out of date in the notes. Okay, let me. But yeah, I think for CMU, this this keeps them within it keeps them within range of a playoff spot. Or sorry, no, they did not
It
make
put them.
playoffs. For some reason, I thought there were 8
Yeah.
weeks in pro, but yeah,
No.
that eliminated them from the playoffs. So
Yeah, they
yeah,
had to win.
pretty unfortunate. They did need the win there. They got 14 points and they needed like 17. It looks like I'm not sure if they had the head to head versus NPH, but they needed at least 17. So it was a bit of a tall order for them going into the week, but yeah, unfortunately not able to close it out. And yeah, so that is the end of the season for CMU. They came quite far, but yeah, only 6 teams total qualified for playoffs. And yeah, it was quite a tight race in both conferences.
I will note that with the tie here, it actually did put Coney Island Clown Club pretty close to being knocked out of first spot. They only 4 points ahead of the second place team. So, with slightly different results here, because not getting the point from the tie and everything, could have seen that come about as well. But tie gets them in, keeps CMU out.
Sure, sure. Anyone wants to talk anything else about this match before I move on to our second match in Black Conference?
In moment.
All right, so let's talk about our second match, which is, another tie. Geranium, tell us about this one.
Well, you know that Hearthcenter loves talking about its ties. So here we have No Pros Here versus Graduape in a 14-14 tie, the highest amount of points you can get with a tie here. Excume losing barely in the 3-2 to Ufric. Agent Peewee taking the 3-1 over Heat Shock, along with QSNS taking his 3-1 over CMAC. Whereas Valdus and Thalfix both got 3-2s as well. So, yep, in this case, no pros here. Getting the tie means that they narrowly stay ahead of CMU since they were ahead going into the week, but just barely. So here, getting the +1 point means they keep ahead, and Graduape getting the tie here means that they stay in last, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's surprising though. The team that was behind just really showed their strength against NPH here. Um, I am going to ask Chicken if they have anything to add.
Yeah, not too much. I mean, NPH basically did what they needed to here. They weren't, overly successful this week, but they did get just barely enough points to kind of squeeze their way into playoffs. Which, yeah, congrats to them. That is exactly what they were looking for. So, yeah, I mean, the Black Conference playoff race was very much down to the wire at the end. I did not expect NPH to make playoffs personally because I think they were behind a couple teams, but and I was surprised to see that a 14 or a 15-point week was able to put them in that third place spot. But yeah, here we are.
Imagine NPH not making it in the bottom place in playoffs.
True.
True.
Just always meant
Can you
to
name
be.
a season where they haven't actually? Good trivia question.
Yeah, never bet against NPH. I've learned.
They always squeak into playoffs. I don't know. I would have to look back at history to see.
It's been a long time. I'll be honest. They've done it like 4 or 5
Yeah,
times.
yeah, and one of them they made finals.
So let's talk about the standings here so I can go to sleep at some point. Geranium, what are the standings for the Black Conference looking like?
Okay, let's keep Lotus up a little bit longer here and say it real slow, because Black Conference is Coney Island Clown Club at the top, getting the bye with 122 points. Zarel's Disciples was right behind them at 118, as I was saying. No Perus here rounds out the teams that made it into playoffs with 105 points. Knocked out barely was Cheesemongers United at 102, Graduate at 96, ET Yog Saran at 94, F2L at 89, and OPP at 76. Only 3 acronyms could make it.
Nice. Now, any final comments about the Black Conference before I move to the Pink Conference?
Coney Island Clown Club forgot to get their loss in the main season, so
Oh,
oops.
yeah, rip.
True. So let's hop right into Pink Conference, where everything went in disarray last season. I think I can say that. And to talk about a match that went in disarray, Chicken, why don't you tell us about the Canadians facing the Raging Clues?
Yeah, this is certainly a match that a week that did not go our way. Well, we did kind of keep it very consistent though, so something to be said there. All of us losing 3-1, or as yeah, Milo would like to put it, 1-3. But yeah, we had a pretty slim chance of making playoffs. And I'm not sure we could have done it anyways based on the amount of points that criminal lineups got. But yeah, we did try to put like a lot of thought and effort into our lineups and preparation, and then it just kind of blew up in our face. I think um yeah, just got a perhaps a little unlucky, perhaps a little bit of misreading our preparation, but yeah, all in all, bit of a weird season. Had so many people subbing in and out. People, yeah, getting perma-subbed out of the team. So a little bit was definitely tough to kind of get a consistent practice or preparation schedule or whatever you want to call it. Um, but overall, still had fun.
For sure. It's important. Always have fun in your seasons. Al, anything you want to say about this one?
I wouldn't have complained if Super Chicken's team had done a little better, and maybe the Raging Clues hadn't gotten quite as many points this week. But the
Yeah, I do
cards
feel
fell.
as though there may have been a way for criminal lineups to get a few more points in their week. We'll never know, I guess.
We'll never know.
Let's not talk about that. Um, I will remind everyone of our policy. We avoid talking about DQs here. DQs are
Yes.
bad, independent of the state. So
Anyone talking about DQs will be executed on air.
I
Damn.
wouldn't go that far.
It was technically a no contest, but
Yeah, that one was
To,
even worse. But let's not talk about that.
Yeah, to move past that conversation, I will note that even if the Canadians did full sweep this week, did get 18 more points than they had, they actually would have tied criminal lineups with how everything rounded out, and that means they would have lost because they had lost the tiebreaker during the main season. So criminal lineups would have then made it in over Canadians. Canadians had no way to make it.
Still, though, the Raging Clues just raged into the top 3. But I did that. All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other match that was really core for what happened in Pink. And we have Owl tell us about Brushy Tuna facing a perfect Murloc.
yeah. So yeah, both of these teams were also in playoff contention. I mean, they're in playoffs, but this week was about getting a lot of points to try and make sure that my team criminal lineups didn't enter above them. And APM was already in a pretty set position to make playoffs. I don't know if they were guaranteed at the start of the week. I can't remember, but Brushy Tuna definitely needed to get some points, and they managed to do that. Although, worth noting, this is the first pro match that Mick Banterfaced has lost, and I believe either 14 or 15 weeks play.
Yeah.
A
Because he went
ridiculous number.
undefeated the
Yeah,
entirety
it's
of last
ridiculous.
season. So now we have a new undefeated player, Yo Daddy. See if Yo Daddy can stay undefeated throughout playoffs. And the 2-seed Peril Walks as well, also undefeated on APM. So watch out for them in playoffs.
Mhm.
But yeah, both of these teams, a very close match. We do see some sweeps down in the bottom seed. Genji taking a 3-0 over Lotus Knight, while Basting took a 3-0 over Chewy. But the other matches were a lot closer. Our Hat 3-2 over Corden, Parawax 3-2 over Ron, and then, as mentioned before, Yodaddy getting that 3-1 over the previously undefeated McBanterface. But both teams squeaking out just enough points to put both of them in playoffs.
This match drove us insane in our chat, but not talk too much about that. I want to ask specifically, Geranium here if he has anything to add about this one.
I do. Yeah, I mean, you had your chat with Brushy Tuna. Turns out, a Perfect Murloc, the APM chat does kind of talk amongst the teams a little bit. So I did know that, or I was sort of hyped up on the final match here because it was Brushy Tuna actually ahead a little bit, 11-10 going into the final match, which was Genji versus you, Lotus Knight. And yeah, just whoever won that match would make it in. And then, unfortunately, because of the sweep, it sort of brought the entire week really, really close among those teams trying to fight for playoffs. And Brushy Tuna almost didn't make it at all, which would have been crazy for how playoffs have been the past few seasons. You always see Brushy Tuna in playoffs. You always see MPH at the bottom spot.
Right. So let's take a look at the standings after this match because this was such a crazy one. Chicken, what are the standings for Pink in the end?
Yeah, the Pink Conference standings. So, at 123 at the top, we have a Perfect Murloc. Then at 116, we have the Raging Clues. At 113, we have Brushy Tuna. And at 110, we have Criminal Lineups. And at 92, we have Canadians. At 84 is Luker's Lovebirds. Then we have Swagoy at 72 and the Silverhand Detective Agency at 70. I'm also just
Alright.
realizing that we gave the Silverhand Detective Agency their only win of the season. So it was definitely an interesting season.
That's true. Definitely a really interesting one, but we do have to look at the player power rankings for Pro. Geranium, tell us who made it into Pro PPR.
Okay, well, fifth on the honorable mentions is ZLSJS at 4-2. Fourth in the honorable mentions, but first in 14th place on this list is Molestar at 5-2. Ufrik gets the third spot at 5-2. Copa also 5-2. Izot is the last player not in the top 10 at 5-2. Neji Boston narrowly squeaks in there, 5-2 with the same game win rate as Izot. Ridiculous Hat gets 5-2 to get 9th spot. Wild9 also 5-2 at the 8th spot. Agent Peewee 5-2 for the 7th spot. Jamie's 5-2 for the 6th spot. And finally, in the top 5, Dazer gets a 5-1. Seth for Christ, also same team, gets a 5-1. McBannerface gets the 3rd spot with 6-1, and then the 2 undefeated players, Parawalks, not playing every single week, so 6-0 in the 2nd spot, and Yo Daddy at 7-0, despite a slightly worse game win rate compared to Parawalks.
Yeah.
I want to
Congrats to our. Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Fish.
I would say congrats to our 2 undefeated players. That's excellent to go undefeated in pro.
For sure, for sure. I want to congratulate everyone here for their performance, though. I want to congratulate Yo Daddy and Pararock, especially because undefeated in pro is very tough. But I want to congratulate as well McBannerface, Seth, Dazer, Jammies, Agent PWE, Wild9, Ridiculous Hat, and Neji Boston, and also our honorable mentions: Ixard, Copa, Ufric, Molstar, and ZLSJS. Congratulations, everyone, on making pro player power rankings. You can do it next season. Just keep winning, and you'll eventually be here. With that, let's take a look at the pro playoffs. So, what do we have in pro playoffs right now? Tell me, Geranium.
Yes. Okay. In pro playoffs, on the one side, we have Raging Clues facing off against Brushy Tuna. The winner of that will go ahead and face a Perfect Murloc for their second chance. And then in the other side, XD is facing off against NPH. And then the winner of that will face the Coney Island Clown Club for their second shot at that matchup. And then the winner of those two will finally face off in finals. Interesting that they're keeping to their separate conferences, though, in their sides.
Oh yeah. Also, this is the wrong playoff picture.
Oh, did I put the
Um,
wrong one? I will fix it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
there's only 6 teams.
Yeah, it's the
in
final one that NHL put earlier.
I am
But yeah,
getting
Okay, so ignore CMU and ignore criminal lineups in this. And also Coney Island Clown Club has a bye.
So does APM.
Yeah.
To be fair, playing CMU and getting the bye.
So true.
Damn.
There we go.
Brutal.
What this is still this still has criminal lineups.
Oh, it's
in
still
it.
the wrong one? Okay, I'll get the other. So while I am getting, I want to ask you, who actually wins? Owl, tell me which of the 6 teams makes it.
It's APM. For sure. 2 undefeated players. I'm going to side with that one.
Very well. Fish, who makes it?
Bing bong. Coney Island Clown Club.
Fair. I want to ask Geranium here, who makes it?
It's pretty crazy. All the like tippy top teams that we were talking about at the beginning of the season have had a lot of changes on them, have done some unexpected things. So let's be a little bit unexpected and say XD with their stellar end of the season continues.
Fair. And last but not least, I believe the one I'm missing is Chicken. Chicken, who makes it?
I think APM will win it. They've been doing insanely well. And yeah, having Yo Daddy and Parawalks. Yeah, Parawalks, that week 2 pickup was pretty insane. That was around the same time he won that community gaming tournament as well. So, um, pretty insane that they were able to pick him up, and he's just been destroying Pro Series ever since. I don't really see a team. I mean, I think yeah, Coney Island Clown Club is the only team I could see beating APM, but they do look very very strong right now.
That's fair. We do have one more week, so we'll see what happens next week as I bring us back to the main screen for our checkout question. And first of all, I want to specially thank Geranium Battle, Super Chicken, Nice Jewish Owl, and Dr. Fish for joining me for quite the show tonight. We have a very special question. We saw 4 cards teased by Blizzard. And my question is, what happens to each of them? So our checkout question of the night is, what happens to each of the nerfed cards? And I'll choose one of you for each of the cards, starting with Dr. Fish. Fish, what happens to the bear?
Oh, the Wild Seed Bear card. It's very likely just going to become a 2/4. Um, Maybe there's a world in which it becomes something like a 3/3, but I feel like it'll just have 1 health reduced off of it.
Bear? Do you think that will have an impact for that particular card or for the wild seeds?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it does make like it's a pretty good hit off of a card like off of the one that summons the 3 mana Wild Seeds card. It does make it perhaps slightly worse, but um it just makes it, I think like having it at 4 mana makes it a better breaking point for other decks. Because getting a 2/5 that early can be kind of problematic. Usually requires multiple minions or a minion and a spell to remove. So I think it'll be a good change to keep it. At least have it ha- have the minion with a manageable breakpoint.
Fair. Moving on to Geranium Battle, or sorry, to Owl. Owl, this is a tough one for you. What happens to the stag?
So here's my proposal. I could be boring and say, oh, it'll be a 4/3, a 4/4. Here's what I think. You know how every time on ladder, your opponent plays that harpoon gun right before their stag spirit wakes up? I want stag spirit to, when it wakes up, go into your opponent's deck and destroy the harpoon gun in there. They don't even need to equip it. Just have it get rid of your harpoon gun.
That'd be
Uh,
funny.
the anti-harpoon gun tech. I like it. So Geranium, what happens to the harpoon gun?
Yeah. I mean, this is probably one of the most anticipated nerfs. Harpoon Gun, even before Beast Hunter became really good, was like the highest win rate card in Beast Hunter. Even back before it got the buff to being 3 cost reduction. Beast Hunter didn't have as high a win rate, but Harpoon Gun had a higher win rate. So high confidence change. Blizzard's probably going to make it just reverted back to the 2 cost reduction. I'd like to see them do more to it. I'd like to see them, I don't know, I guess make it 2 attack as well. That would be 3 2s on the card. So 3 cost, 2 weapon, reduced cost by 2. Or even, getting it down to 1 durability, 3-1 weapon. But they're probably just going to make it the 2 cost change, and it's still going to be really good.
It does still sound really good. It's 3-2, but maybe it's not as broken as it currently is. Now, for what I think is actually the hardest card here, Chicken, what's happening to Theotar?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways they could go here. I think the obvious, like easy one is just increase the mana cost. And I think while increasing the mana cost a sufficient amount would kind of reduce the frustration enough for a lot of players, I do think the card should be reworked instead. I think the effect is, like, yeah, on average, Theotar isn't like super powerful or anything like that, but the cases where he just like steals a win con, like, obviously feels pretty bad for your opponent. It's kind of the Elusia effect where your opponent just plays a single card and like wins the game without really having to do much.
Mhm.
So I think maybe tweaking the battle cry in some way, perhaps just making it steal a copy from your opponent, which might kill the card, but that's okay. um I'm not really sure. I'm obviously no game designer, so I don't really know what would be like a rework that kind of reduces the frustration that players are feeling from the card and also still makes it playable. Not that a card needs to continue to see play after it's being nerfed. I mean, just look at like Snowfall Guardian, Celestial Alignment. Like some cards, they just want to die, and maybe Theotar should just die.
That's fair. Um, I want to one more time thank Nice Jewish Owl, Geranium Battle, Super Chicken, and Dr. Fish for joining me tonight on Heart Center. It is always great having every single one of you, and I think we had a great show. A lot of content, a lot of PPR, just a lot of stuff to talk about. We're coming back next week with a lot of playoffs, and we hope to see you then. If you want to play on a match show, message on the stream channel. We are looking for matches for our streams. So message there. Let us know. We would love to have your match. Everyone is welcome, especially playoff matches. With that said, I want to wish you all a great week. Crush it in your matches if you're one of our viewers or one of our hosts. I want to see a bunch of 3-0s unless you're against my team. And with that said, there is a chance of extension. The board still hasn't come up with their mind. I just want to remind you all there may be an extension. That said, schedule tonight. Start scheduling. Get in on it. It's not hard and makes your life a lot easier. With that, have a good night, everyone, and we will see you all later.